All right, we're back. Got the got the decks up here. Okay, so what I did is I just kind of laid out two priest decks. One's mine, and then one's Amaz's. Amaz's is the nice shiny gold one that has all these all these gold cards. I have no gold cards in mine, of course. I know, but I figured we would kind of compare it at least as some kind of talking point, so that we can just kind of frame the talk around on the priest deck. And I know last time we had you on, we had you talk a little bit about it. Is there are any maybe new things that you've added to your priest deck in the last season, or and any I don't know any more findings that you've had even though with all your experience with priest deck?
Oh yeah, I mean, I basically change my decks every single stream because it's really hard to find the right balance, especially with the changing meta.
Mm-hmm.
The main difference is the running only one Cabal Shadow Priest,
Mm-hmm.
because running two, usually you just have a dead hand. So running one seems to be much smoother. I mean, if you don't steal something for the Cabal, then you might as well run the Yeti.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes it's just very difficult to steal something, even against Zoo because of all the buffs. Also added in Faceless. Faceless seems to be pretty good. It seems to be the solution to control decks.
Okay.
Because you can't really put mind control. Mind control is you just lose a turn with mind control and usually die the next turn. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much for that. And Sylvanas can come back, of course, because that's a more flexible mind control with Sylvanas Death. So yeah, those are pretty much the changes. And of course the ooze tech for the god amount of hunters
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
ladder right now. Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. Thoughts on Shadow Madness? Still really good in your eyes, or no?
Not really, but
Okay.
it's necessary. I mean, the amount of times where you could use it against like a zoo or a hunter, it's basically a multi-shot. It's a worse version of multi-shot, which
Mm-hmm.
is actually we really need that. Actually taking a pain, because yeah, because the aggro is just too much sometimes, but pain can't be used on the piggy, so we're pretty sad about that. The pain
Yeah.
could be changed to a smite, I guess, but I find pain to be a bit more useful against Scarlet Crusader and those type of
Yeah. That's true.
yeah.
That's definitely a nice thing to it. Yeah, I mean, comparing ours is actually pretty different. Mine's more of a just a solid base type of, solid type of base kind of deck where just kind of fighting for the board for a while, and that's why I feel like I can get to mind control. I can get to mind control almost every single game. Actually, it's just a matter of like whether I have enough answers or not. Like a handlock ends up doing really well against this deck because I just don't have quite enough answers for everything. But my deck's obviously a lot simpler. I think you have a lot more combo kind of playmaking ability in yours, which is kind of cool. The ooze helps quite a bit, I think, too, which is really nice. But the one thing that I discovered that was really cool, and I think Razor kind of pointed out to me, was that Earthen Ring Farseer's amazing in Priest, just with the Akanai and even the just a life gain, of course, against like a hunter, but even just the ability to do 3 damage, plus your hero power to doing 5 damage on a board play is pretty cool at like 9. What do you
Oh
think
yeah,
about
it's
Ring
yeah,
Farseer?
it's definitely a very good card. I really want to put another one in, but the thing is, Alkanite is a very dead card in my opinion against hunters. Like every
Mm,
game I put an
yeah.
Alkanite down against hunter, I just lose. So I just never do it unless I have a Sunfury to back it up. So because I'm only run Alkanite, it doesn't make sense to run two Farseers anymore. So yep, that's why I only run one.
Mm, okay.
Um, I mean, I'm looking at your deck. The first impression I got when you sent me the deck list
Hmm.
was there are no taunts,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Well, there's
oh, if I
Abomination.
play
There's
your
one.
deck, I would feel very unsafe playing against hunters. You know?
Well, surprisingly, the hunter matchup isn't bad at all. Like for one, the Abomination is something that's nice that you can just throw up there, and it's going to actually remove everything like in that combo, right? No matter what they
Right.
do, unless they silence it. They can silence it with an owl, which can be really annoying. But it kind of functions as two things: the Abomination as a taunt and as a removal, all in one card, which is kind of why I ran that versus like a Sinjin and that sort of thing. But overall, against the hunter, I don't know. I don't feel like I need a taunt. It's just got with the holy fires and the hero powers and the earth and farseer. It just seems to have a lot of life gain that I can offset just a lot of the weapon damage and the charge start is still difficult, right? When they start with
Right,
three
yeah,
charge units,
exactly.
that's going to be
Right.
difficult for any deck, I think. So, but just the typical average kind of hunter, I think this my deck actually wins pretty easily against that.
Yeah, I
But
think you told me you had something like a 80% win rate
I think
against
seventy
hunters.
percent, 70% against hunters with this
Right.
deck because
So
it's.
that's pretty impressive.
But yours is skewed more towards control. Mine struggles more against control for sure. And given what I've been playing so far this season, it's it's been pretty rough since I've been playing a
Right.
lot of control. But Trump, any thoughts on Priest?
So in general, people have been commenting on Priest being the one of the weakest classes,
Yeah,
and
yeah, for sure.
I like how you two have come up with two very different takes on it, and I actually think that Priest could be a serious contender, and these are good starting
Hmm.
spots for sure. Um, I don't have much to say. Like it's
You
very
haven't played
solid.
it much. I know, no problem. No
No, I
big
mean it's
deal.
not that I haven't. Well,
Well, you
it's
played
true
a
that
lot
I
in
haven't
Arena.
played it
You played
much,
a lot
but
in
I can sort
Arena.
of theory craft, and it sort
Yeah.
of feels like it's a good foil against Hunter because the Warrior is a good foil against Hunter, and that's mainly because of the hero ability, and the Priest and the Warrior have almost the same hero ability,
Hmm.
especially against Hunter. And it seems like Amaz's deck plays out very similar to how Warrior controlled play against
Yeah,
Hunter,
I would agree with that.
and
Yeah.
feels like it would be great.
Yeah, I feel like Priest is a contender in tournament settings, especially not really in ladder because ladder you always get like aggro stuff, but in a tournament where you have more decks than actual matches. So for example, you play 3 matches and you have five only have 5 decks. You can choose from 5 decks. I think Priest could be definitely in one of those
Hmm.
because you could always bring it up as like a counter to something. So if they ever make those formats, then yeah,
Hmm.
Priest would be good.
I mean, the one aspect of Priest that I really really like is that you can play a reactive style. You know, you can because of things like Cabal, things like even mind control, right? And you can work in Sylvanas too, just like you did there. And there's this whole just stealing aspect to it, right? That I think does encourage more of a reactive style. So you don't have to necessarily straight
Yeah.
out counter like a particular control deck because you just have this general steal mechanic that just is good against any kind of control
Well, maybe
deck.
it's your deck, but
Mm,
with my deck, my only
mm,
playstyle is reactive, right? I mean,
yeah,
turn 3, I usually drop a Thought Steal. It's
yeah.
just, yeah, usually a
Hmm.
build up. I don't think I've ever won a game at, before turn 10. So reactive style is kind of my only option.
Yeah, no,
Maybe
no,
you
that's
could
like
go,
that's what I was saying. Like I really like that. Like that you can
right?
play reactive with this class. I don't think you can do it so much with any of the others. I think that's true.
Yeah, like that,
Is
yeah.
that true, Trump? Trump, is there any other class you can play purely reactive?
Probably the closest would be the Warrior control.
Okay, yeah, yeah. It's more from a removal standpoint. Yeah, okay.
I will
That's true
also
too.
comment on Maz though. I'm surprised that you don't run like one copy of Mind Control. Uh,
Mind control's so
you
good.
just
Yeah.
you did just speak about how like if you spend your entire turn doing just that, you'll probably lose. But isn't Ysera almost the same thing?
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
so
That's a good point.
Izera was yeah, it actually I switched up mind control of Izera some time ago. Uh it just feels like mind control is not that good. You need to rely on your opponent to play a big minion, and if they don't, then it's like sitting in your hand forever. And they usually know that, oh, it's a priest. They usually play around mind control as well. So it's just better for me to just put out a Ysera, and even if it gets removed, I get a card out of it. I just don't need to wait. I already have so many waiting cards, so that's kind of my thought process behind that.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Ysera. Definitely, there are a lot of games that end with Ysera just killing me.
Right, but I
For
certainly
sure.
bounce
Yeah,
between
it's
Ysera and Control a lot.
yeah.
That's true.
Ysera on when I play my deck, Ysera is actually the card that I feel like I have to save mind control for the majority of the time, because
Right, yeah, Ysera is a pain to deal with.
yeah,
If you're using a priest, yeah,
you can't
definitely.
remove it, right? I mean, I have nothing that actually manipulates damage, so I can't actually I can't remove it. So that's when it ends up I end up mind controlling most of the time. But I'd agree with Trump though. I think if you can get to it, mind control is literally like against a handlock, right? You're removing a giant and you're throwing down a big giant, so that's the biggest swing that you're gonna get in a card, I believe, right? And it's an answer and it's a minion, right? So
Yeah, that's true.
it's
That's true. Yeah.
it's definitely hard to get there. But you definitely are the expert in the priest, so
Oh well,
gotta
no, I
go with
mean,
gotta go with what
well, if
your
Uzera gives you
advice
something
there.
like a nightmare, and
Mhm.
then it's removal of death already. So yeah, usually if you just don't get sisters, and Uzera will be a great card. Every
Don't
time
get
you don't
sister.
get sister,
Yes.
it's a great card.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Let's see. Any other comment? So Thought Steal. I know you still, you were saying that Thought Steal was like the best card in the game. Do you still feel that way?
yep, yep,
Yep.
yep. I'm gonna feel that way until new cards come out, or if they change any cards. It's actually very reliable in my opinion, because I think I said this before, maybe not here, but
Reliable.
in my stream, I was saying that people's decks generally counter themselves, right? I mean, you can thought steal owls against drakes, you can thought
Really? Oh
steal
wow.
black
Okay.
knights against druids. They tend to subconsciously counter themselves, because if you're playing a
Huh.
control, you need some kind
Okay.
of, you need big minions, and you also need ways to remove minions. So that's the big plus of a thought steal.
I never
It's dead
thought
against
about that.
rogues though.
I've never thought
It's dead
about
against.
decks subconsciously countering themselves. Trump, have you ever considered that? I
I think that's dumb.
I think that's oh
I mean,
man. Oh boy.
it's more of the control decks want some way to beat control decks, and they throw in some cards to do that because you need to. On the topic of thought steal, it's I still find it hard to believe that it's so much better than Arcane Intellect, and calling it the best card is like, yeah, like if you're a lot of the time you're playing thought steal on turn 3, then isn't aggro going to run you over? I mean, of course, against aggro, you're not going to play Thought Steal on turn
Right.
3, but it's just
Well, yeah,
your
yeah.
love
I
for
mean,
that
the
card
way I
is
look at
astounding.
it, yeah, the way I look at it is like it's like a 10 drop, right? It's like if you get a thought steal, you get to refresh your hand with like extra legendaries. If not, you only play thought steal if, you seriously have nothing to play on turn 3. You usually save it till the end. Yeah, you kind of treat it like an arcane intellect kind of, but you get so many possibilities of like, double legendary cards, or even triple cards, stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's the
I was talking to Amaz earlier about it. It's just like I feel like with Thought Steal, I either get two amazing cards or two really bad cards, or at least one just completely worthless card a lot of the times. But for me, it's one of the most fun cards in the game for sure, and it's powerful it is powerful. Again, it's one of those cards that actually adds a card to the deck. It actually adds two cards to your deck that you wouldn't have otherwise. And there's not very many cards in the game that let you have plus 30 plus cards, and that's one of them. So that is powerful. It's a powerful aspect to it.
And there's a lot of combos that you can come up with, right? I mean, as
Yeah.
soon as you steal like a peacekeeper against a paladin, you go, oh yes, that's a great steal, because you could
Yeah.
Cabal, Shadow Priest, Arturian, and that just feels awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think
Mm.
about the Girabashi that I put in? Because that's
Yeah,
one
I was pretty surprised. And you were talking about
yeah.
how it was doing really good, right?
Mhm. There's
I don't know if it's really good, because there was one time in Priest I was making a new deck, and I really like turtles, because
Yeah.
you could heal it back up. And I feel like that Gurubashi is like a turtle that costs a bit more. So
Oh,
I
but
guess it's working out for you.
it scales like way better than the
It does
turtle.
scale, yeah.
I mean, it
But I feel like everything gets removed anyways in this meta. That I mean, you could do some crazy stuff with Pyro with it, I think.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's the thing about Girabashi. Let me get your thoughts on it, Trump, first before I explain why. What do you think about
I think
Girabashi?
Gurubashi is also quite weak. The turn you play it, it's a 2/7, which is
Mhm.
quite bad, and it's like the turtle, and takes some time to get rolling. Like I can see how it'd be good against control, and I sort of want to talk about Thought Steal a little bit more.
Okay,
Thought
sure, go for
Steal
it. Go
is
for it. We'll come back. We'll
probably
come back.
really
We'll come back.
it is really good against late game control, but it's just Arcane Intellect is also really good against late game control. Thought Steal has the added benefit of like they have no idea what cards you took, and you can surprise them, and it's, sometimes you get really lucky and get their really good stuff. Um,
I mean, it is two different cards. It's not from your deck, right? So, I think general card draw. I think you're right. It's just two cards, like regardless of what they are. Um, but they are additional cards. So if your deck already has, like, if you had Arcane Intellect and you had Thoughtsteal, wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, it. No, you don't think, you think it'd be the same?
No, no, I don't think they'll be the same. The best priest cards comes not from priest, so yeah. I mean, I cannot imagine thought stealing a druid deck and coming with
okay.
like 2 bad cards. I mean, yeah, I just don't see it. I mean,
Okay,
even I
so-
can even use watchers, so like
Okay.
I mean,
On that point, then do you build a deck around Thoughtsteal? Like, do you build?
no, you don't. It's
I mean-
it's a special thing by itself because the combos are already set, right?
Yeah.
Because you can use Cabal Shadow Priest normally, you can use Pyromancer normally anyways,
Yeah.
but you know, Thoughtsteal just adds that extra combo to your existing combos that you know, you can really just work around that. And this, I mean, Priest is like the only class that can juggle like throughout like the whole spectrum of combos. Like every single card is in your deck, possibly. And yeah, I still stand behind the subconsciously countering your own
yourself.
deck kind of philosophy.
Okay.
Except for Rose, right? Rose you can't Miracle Rose you can't thought steal anything good.
Yeah,
Even just a
that's true.
general rogue, you don't really want to thought steal. So that's the only matchup I think thought steal is bad against.
So do you actually just avoid playing it, or do you still play it just in hopes of getting Leroy or?
Because you have nothing else to play, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So because sometimes our turn 3s are dead. We don't draw our Blade Masters, we don't draw our you know, maybe our Senjins, something like that. It's pretty much dead. So you have to,
Yeah.
you know, you're forced into using it. But I treat Thoughtsteal as like a 10 drop sometimes because you know you're stealing something big. You're putting it's like it's like sustain. Like I call it sustain.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
All right.
Okay. As for Girabashi, just my comments on Girabashi. It the biggest thing about Girabashi and just in general, right, with the priest, which you've probably experimented with the Snapjaw, at least it sounds like, is the hero
Yeah.
power. I think works well with just keeping units on the board, right? So if your unit has a ton of health and can just stay on the board, then all of a sudden your hero power makes it that much more efficient, right? Like you're two for
But that's
one-ing
the
and stuff.
problem with the hero power. If you're using a hero power, you might as well drop the 2-drop. So using your hero power on a minion, that's it's not as good as you know some people might think, because I mean if you use a hero power sometimes on like a druid or something, it just means that you don't have like a better drop or you need to remove that 1 health creature. It's like the kind of like the suboptimal play. So I don't think healing a high health creature is necessarily like a good thing, but it's just how priest works, right? I mean, we don't have a lot of drops. We like our cards have a lot of value, so that's why we like healing our minions because we want to squeeze every bit of, you know, greed with the Arcanine Circle. We want to keep it in our hand as long as possible.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So,
Well,
yeah. But I don't.
I mean, that's the one thing
Oh,
about
sorry.
the Girabashi, though, is it scales. Unlike the Snapjaw, which does not scale in damage, right? The Berserker can be infinite. Like, the damage can actually be infinite. Oh, not infinite. I mean, there's only so much damage
Well,
you can do to it.
Oh, wait,
But-
you can say infinite, yeah.
Yeah, it just
sure.
like in the scheme of the game itself, it could, you know, it could scale up to 50. Like if you just, you know, if it just stayed on the board forever, which it won't. But it's hard to remove the Girabashi. Outside of a mirror matchup with Shadow Word Pain, I mean, people don't like to spend a poly on it, or people don't like to spend a hex on it until it's actually activated, right? So a lot of times you'll get a removal, especially with like Druid or something, like with a Yeti or something like that. A lot of times you'll just get that one shot with it if you throw it down. I don't know. It's just something I've been trying for sure.
The base stats really aren't too interesting for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've just been experimenting with it. I mean, I think we've messed around with Venture Co too. You know, Venture Co but the Venture Co just gives the deck a BGH target, which it doesn't really have right now. So that's kind of why I was like messing around with Girabashi some.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. I would rather run a Fen Creeper in your in the slot
Oh, okay.
because if it's 6 health, right? 6 health already avoids a lot of things. The magic numbers are really 4 health and 6 health, right?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
yeah, I would rather have that. I mean, it's a taunt too, so it works well. So I would rather have that. Like just
Okay.
blindly looking at it. I'm not testing anything, but yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try that out too. Okay. Well, cool. That's I think concludes our priest talk. But why don't we take some questions? And I wanted to I wanted to have the subs kind of ask questions if they want, and we'll go into subscriber only mode here. And for all the again, all the subs that want to ask their questions, go ahead and ask. But in the meantime, I'll ask one question from the Reddit thread while we wait. And let me bring it up real quick here. There's some good questions today too in the Reddit thread. Let me sort by top, just whoever upvoted or whichever question got upvoted the most. Okay, so Jito asks, while we wait for subs, which of these two situations would be more successful over a sum of games played? And I guess I'll direct this question towards Trump, since he lists you in the example. So the two choices are A, Trump constructs an arena deck and hands it off to an average player, or B, an average player builds an arena deck and passes it off to Trump. The average player in question does not improve over the large sum of games played. So I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm curious to see what the degree of the answer would be. So Trump, what do you think? First off, what's your answer to that?
Okay. This one I sort of got from Hafu a bit, but she actually coaches some arenas, and she has commented that the average player doesn't actually build arena decks that badly. Like there are some choices where they might disagree, but it's debatable. And I sort of feel the same way, that the construction of arena deck, there might be like 5 to 10 different cards, which is a lot, but it's not going to be like blatantly a worse card most of the time. So it turns out that while there's a big part of deck construction in terms of arena, in terms of getting a good mana curve, in terms of picking the best card, I think the average player will build a reasonable deck, and a lot of it has to do with how you play it. So I think that an average player building an arena deck and passing it off to me would be more successful than me building a arena deck and passing it off to an average player.
Do you think by a lot? Like, what do you think
if we assume the average player wins 50% of the time, then it would be a substantial improvement. Probably get it up to somewhere in the 70% win rate area. Whereas I believe the other way around, maybe their deck would be slightly better, and then they might be winning like 55%. Right. Just throwing random numbers out there.
Okay. Well, subs don't seem like asking any questions. Last call, so subs, if you want to ask questions, just type it out in the stream chat, and you'll get your questions asked. But in the meantime, we'll do one more Reddit thread, and then I'll free all you guys until then. Let's see. Next up, I think we already asked that one. Okay, so IXAM. Actually, no. Let me ask. A retrospectual asks, question for Amaz. If you could put any other card from any class into a priest deck, what card would that be?
The first card that came to mind was Peacekeeper, like immediately. But
Oh, Aldor. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, but maybe a 2-drop that's good. What's a 2-drop that's good?
A 2-drop that's good.
I don't know. What's a 2-drop that's really good?
Fiery War Axe. There you go.
Fiery War Axe. Yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, that would be pretty good.
Yeah, Fiery War Axe would be pretty awesome. In any deck, man.
Something that's 2 or 3. I'll be happy.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of great 2-drops anymore. Remember when 2 used to be just the amazing slot?
Lightning Storm would be really good, I think.
Which one?
Lightning Storm.
Oh, in the priest deck, Lightning Storm.
Oh, no, actually, the overload mechanic in priest is very annoying to deal with. Like every time I thought to do something that's overload, everything messes up. It's just experience. Like, you know, I don't like overload stuff. It's okay in a shaman because they can, you know, work around that. But as a priest, I don't think it really works out. So yeah.
Okay. All right, well, I don't think there's going to be any questions from the subs today. Wow, this is working out great, dude. Okay, so we're gonna free up the chat. Oh, whoops. Free up the chat so you guys can go nuts again. And we'll continue asking from the Reddit thread. Let's see. Trump, why do you never, from IXAM1212, why do you never use your golden cards in your decks? It's like me.
Well, I think part of it is function, because it makes the deck list shorter. so that you can actually post the entire deck list and not have it be crazy. And also, it makes the editing easier because having the golden cards might throw things off a bit. Whatever. I also just have a form type of thing where I would rather a deck be or all golden or all non-golden. So that's all.
Yeah, one of these days he's gonna break out the bling when all of your decks, when you have every single card in the game. That's gonna be awesome. Amaz, let's see. El Pablo 80 asks, how do you keep the faith and continue to roll with this underdog class? Obviously, you're a good player and you're doing well with the priests, but what keeps you motivated? Can you give me some ideas about how we might continue to be motivated as players?
Oh,
Wow. Okay.
I don't know for you guys, but for me, I always like to play like the underdog classes, like in any other game. I
Yeah.
just like to see what potential they are, like Dan in Street Fighter or stuff like that. You just have that much more hype when you win or when you pull out something that nobody expects. And really just to explore like potential, like what what if you do such stuff like this, or maybe you change some cards to make it viable, because Blizzard did came out to say that all the classes are pretty well balanced in their minds.
Yeah.
So maybe they have a deck that we didn't discover yet. So that's how, I don't know, the never ending quest to
Yeah, I
get
respect
priests
that.
to be viable.
I definitely
Yeah.
respect that. I tend to kind of think that way too. Just it's one of those things where it's just like you believe that there's something undiscovered, and it'd be great to discover it, for the first time. And
Oh, it's also good because people watch my stream before they play me in the tournaments, and it's all just priests, so they don't know what I'm gonna do. So that's a plus.
yeah, it's different variations of Prius, right? So
Yeah, just to
definitely,
throw them off.
definitely cool. All right, why don't we ask one or two more questions and then we'll call it a day. Um, let's see. Okay, so Ajito, actually he's one of the subs. When spectating eventually comes out, and assuming Blizzard allows anyone to spectate the top players without being BattleNet friends, kind of like you can see in League of Legends and Dota too, are you concerned about the lack of privacy when building and testing new decks for upcoming tournaments? And Trump, I guess I'll direct that question towards you.
For me, it's not as big of a problem. I can definitely see the cases where I actually did this for the BlizzCon Invitational, where I played off stream with decks that I planned to run, and I thought I was bringing some interesting new decks out there,
Yeah.
which didn't end up being the case, but not, anyways. Yeah, sometimes you want to hide your top secret tech, and that could be a problem. I actually can't even imagine. I don't think observer mode will be done that way.
I don't think so either. I don't think anybody can watch any. I don't think it's quite like that. Can you do that in League? You still have to be on their friends list, right? To be able to watch.
There's like featured matches where you can watch like the best players. Like you could do that with Hearthstone. That seems like it would be fun. If that were to happen, like you might want to hide your account or something, and like.
Well, you should be able to opt out of that. You should be able to opt out of that.
Or I mean, generally you practice with teammates also, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. One more question here. Let's try to find a good one. Silence?
Hungry Crab was pretty good, by the way. That was exciting.
Thank you.
That was that was definitely the best moment of the tournament. Best moment. Okay, trying to. Okay, so up, and away. It's kind of question that we see a ton, but I just ask you guys. I don't think we've actually asked it in Q&A before. I know that this has been beat to the ground on Reddit due to all the hunter bashing, but do you think that Unleash the Hounds needs a change? And if so, what do you think it should be? I'll ask Moss for you first. Well, I'll get both of your opinions. Do you think it needs a change first? And if it does, what change?
I think it shouldn't depend on your opponent's board. I think that's kind of weird. It does that because, yeah, like Flame Strike, it doesn't depend on your opponent's board. It just clears no matter what. It just does one thing. but one that scales with your opponent's board is kind of it's kind of counterintuitive, at least from like if you're just starting out the game, you just want to put minions out there, right? I mean, yeah, it's just kind of counterintuitive that way. So the first thing I thought was to remove it along with about half of the priest class cards. So yeah, maybe just remove it and put something in.
Half of the priest class cards. Wow. Okay, Trump, what do you think of Unleash the Hounds?
I think Unleash the Hounds is too strong. I think it should be bumped up to 3 mana. And I also think the Hunter class would be severely weakened as a result, so you'd have to buff a lot of cards. It's a really complex thing there. Since Amaz brought up an interesting point, I do agree that Priest free to play is hard, partly because the class cards for Priest are very situational and fit into one very specific deck of like Divine Spirit and Inner Fire.
Inner Fire, yeah.
What's wrong with that?
It's not terrible, but it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's terrible.
But who knows? Maybe the Blizzard guys came up with like they've kept that in there for a while, so maybe they have this top secret like Lightwell Inner Fire Divine Spirit deck, which is somehow consistent and like bam.
Yeah.
Blizzard's also known to not have very strong players too, so.
Whoa.
Wow. Wow. Who said that? I want to hear who said.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Come on, if you come up with Divine Spirit Inner Fire, then you're doing something wrong. So much hate.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a combo that people discovered actually early on. Remember the 120, I think, Deathwing or something like that. We saw that like really early on. Those are always kind of interesting. But yeah, I think that would be that'll be good even for Arena too, right? Arena is where the class cards really, I think it really hurts. Or there's a big difference I think between the class cards you get in other class, just others versus the priest in that realm too. So yeah, overall I think it would be better. Unleash the Hounds for me. You think it should be 3 mana?
On a side note also, Amaz mentioned that Unleash shouldn't depend on your opponent's board, but I think that's actually a really cool feature of Unleash. Because it means your opponent can actually interact with you. Like they have to make the tough decision on whether or not to play another minion, but maybe the dogs will get them if they do. It puts this cool tension on the board. I like the design. Yeah,
especially the way they changed it from the previous design. I feel like it was really elegant now that we're looking back on it and just the decision they made with it. But mana, yeah, I guess 3 mana. 3 mana would probably be more appropriate given the power of it now that the versatility of the draw with the buzzard, or even just removal, or even finish, right? So yeah, 3 mana, I could see that. I don't think it's too bad right now. I mean, maybe it's
I actually prefer the last version of Unleash the Hounds a bit more.
Really? Oh my gosh! Okay, tell why. Why?
Right, because you can actually like develop a board, get taunts up, and you actually feel safe. You can actually count like how much damage you're gonna take at maximum. Like I didn't find that to be a problem. And when they nerfed it, I was like, oh sure, I was I didn't think it was to be a problem really. Yeah.
Trump, what do you think? Did you like the previous version or this version?
The previous version I thought was okay. It was just in Blizzard talk unfun that you would get like 30 to 0'd. So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the main thing.
Man.
I mean,
that just reminded me of the 28 damage Warlock burst. I may forget to nerf Unleash the Hounds, nerf Warlocks, right? So far for 0-4 damage is like, oh my god, it's just nightmares.
Wait, which 24? Which 24?
28 damage. If you drop Leroy, overwhelming, faceless, double soulfire to the face.
Oh, double soulfire.
If Warlocks are allowed to do that, then Hunters are allowed to use Unleash the Hounds, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess you can make that. Yeah. Not to mention all the other. Not to mention the handlock, just the rest of the handlock that they can run too, which is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Too. So that's true. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's going to be it for questions. And thanks, everybody, for posting those questions in Reddit and upvoting them, all that good stuff. But I'm going to wrap the show for this week. Definitely good times. having you on, having you join us, Amaz. Always good to get some priest talk. We don't have many priests out there. There's only like maybe one handful of you guys, like seriously out there that we can
Handful,
that
yeah.
are experts and have had a lot of success. So really really great having you on. But you want to do any shout outs, thank yous?
Yeah, I guess thank you guys for inviting me. It
Yeah.
was fun, and my group buddies wants me to shout out V3 Gaming and TT Esports, of course. And yeah,
Thank you.
come watch my stream sometimes, I guess, to the viewers.
Awesome. Trump, shout outs.
I'd like to thank Crip and Artosis for being over at Fight Night and doing their AMA.
Yep.
They've given me some excellent advice on grills.
All right. All right. That it? That it?
Yeah.
All right. Oh man,
Yeah.
Trump with a grill. Oh, that's gonna be awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah. So if you haven't checked out the AMA, I think it's posted on Reddit. You guys get to see the VOD over at Reddit. But my shout out to Amaz and Trump, obviously, for doing the show with me this week. It's always a lot of fun. Amaz is actually going to be on Deck Wars too tomorrow. He's going to be playing against Masan. So be sure to check that out. It's at a new time, guys. It's going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern. I know it kind of sucks for you Europeans, but we're trying to know at a new time because there's usually a ton of League of Legends stuff that's after Deck Wars, so we're going to try to do Deck Wars after all this League of Legends stuff, and hopefully it'll be better slot to get new Hearthstone people, to get League of Legends people into Hearthstone, and also to kind of avoid any of the big things like ESGN and that sort of thing. So be sure to check that out. It'll be me and Kayuki casting as usual, and should be some great matches there, and you can find the VODs for YouTube. I got the first part, guys. So if you guys didn't get a chance to watch part 1 of last week, it's there. It's on youtube.com/ChanManV. You can find it now. It just magically appeared on Twitch, so it ended up working out. But this week's will be up on youtube.com/ChanManV also right after the show. And follow us all on Twitch, twitch.com/ChanManV/TrumpSC and /AmazHS. That's right, Amaz?
Yep.
Yeah, HS.
All good.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's going to be it. We'll be back next week, and we might be switching the times to this slot, this 2 p.m. Eastern slot. But I'll let you guys know moving forward. Yeah, so that's going to be it for Value Town. So for Trump, Amaz, and ChanManV, we'll see you next time. Later.